Okay, so I think what we're going to do now is we've had a quick look in the SmartZone already, but let's dive into SmartZone again. Maybe Adam, if you could show us the wireless LAN setup, and then we'll circle back and take a look at the switch configuration inside of the SmartZone. So wireless LANs inside of the SmartZone is kind of very, very similar to Zone Director. If we were to create a new Wi-Fi network inside of the SmartZone, we do that by selecting our zone on the left-hand side, then we click the Create button, which is in the center of the screen. That one's a group, so maybe cancel that one, and we'll do a WLAN. Awesome. And so, so from here, this is our wireless LAN config, and it's kind of very, very similar to the ZD, right? So you can be like WPA2, pre-shared key, all of that stuff. So much the same, to be honest, as the Zone Director. What's some interesting things to look at in here? Maybe like the time schedule. So one of the things you can do in the Zone Director is you can apply a time schedule so that, for example, at 4 p.m. all the student networks turn off or something like that. And so from here we can go down to the advanced section, and then we've got the service scheduler. And we can say the time schedule is specified, and we can create a new time schedule, and we could pick, these are the days of the week, and we could pick the hours that we want the Wi-Fi to be available. So if you have a group that comes and uses your school gym in the weekend or something like that, you could have a Wi-Fi network for them, which is only available during the hours that they're using your venue. Or as I say, you could turn off the student network. Yeah.
Do they still give broadcast outside of those times, or is it
just completely gone? Not broadcast, not discoverable. Yep. So that's pretty neat. So you can do that per wireless LAN. And then the other interesting thing here, what else should we talk about in this page? The thing is, there's so many options in here under the advanced section. You can get as detailed as you want, or you can just do the basics.
Yeah, I mean, client management's good for like subway stations.
It's not really going to help us much. So let's look at the OFDM only real quick. I think I may have explained this to some people in the room before, but did anyone ever have problems with client devices not roaming properly between APs? Like you get a situation where, yeah, exactly, and a device gets stuck on an AP and it won't roam. So the first thing to understand in this scenario is it's the decision of the client device as to when it roams, right? It's not the infrastructure that chooses that. The client chooses what AP it connects to. But there are some things we can do on the infrastructure side in order to fix this. One of those tools that we have is to enable OFDM only and set the BSS min rate. And so you guys will probably know this, but the closer you are to an AP, the stronger the signal, which means the faster the data rate is that you're able to achieve. And so I wonder if I can see this on my Mac real quick. Yep, sure can. So on a Mac, and this is like one of the reasons Macs are great, you can hold down the Alt button and you can click on your Wi-Fi symbol, and it will give you all this additional information. And so this information here is telling us like which AP am I connected to, what's my signal strength in relation to the AP, all of that good stuff. One of the things you do see here is you see the MCS index and you see the transmit rate. So the MCS index directly relates to the transmit rate. Just a bit of Wi-Fi stuff. If I go over to something like Wikipedia and I type in 802.11, maybe AC. So the way that Wi-Fi works is it uses this frequency modulation, but there's this fixed table of data rates. So the theory is if I've got this much signal, I should be able to achieve this data rate. And so that's how that works. And you also see here in this table the number of spatial streams. So we've got 1 stream, 2 stream, 3 stream, 4 stream. So for example, my MacBook is a 3x3 device, and if I was connected to a Ruckus AP, the 650 is a 4x4 device. So I'd get 3x3 capabilities. So on my 3x3 MacBook, now you see we also have the MCS index ID. So on the left-hand side is our MCS index. So right now, if I look at my Mac, I'm a 3x3, I'm connected at MCS 4. So my data rate should be around about 270. So if I look for a 3x3 on MCS4, 270. So that's my current rate. If we flick back to the SmartZone real quick. So what I'm trying to explain here is that if you tick this OFDM only, what you effectively do is disable 11B data rates. Meaning that, so the 11B data rates are like 1 megabit, 2 megabit, all the way up to 11 megabit. And if we disable 11B data rates, it means that client devices can no longer connect at those lower data rates, which means that if a client is very far from an access point and it can only connect at like 1 or 2 megabit, it will no longer be able to connect, which forces that device to roam to a nearby AP. And so this is one of the techniques we use to improve roaming.
You better have to do that in the command line to try and turn off those things.
Yeah,
That's much nicer.
yeah, definitely. It used to be a command line thing in ZD. But you can also change the min rate, and this is the minimum supported data rate. So we've got 12 and 24. So if you go 24 as a min rate, it makes it more aggressive. It means that the client has to have quite a good connection to the AP, a good signal in order to achieve a connection. So basically that's all about facilitating roaming. There's a few different other techniques to help roam between access points.
We've had a couple of secure access schools that have got really, really old devices.
Yep.
And we've had to turn both of those options off.
Really?
6 and that option.
Yeah, so the other option there, as Stephen says, is the Wi-Fi 6. So there's a new subset, obviously, with Wi-Fi 6, and there's a known problem with Intel. If you've got a really old Intel device driver, it won't join a Wi-Fi 6 network. And the solution is to update the device driver for the Intel device, or simply stop advertising Wi-Fi 6 services on the AP. So yeah. There are so many different options in here though, right? We could be here all day looking at every single option. Like we do have in-depth courses on how to go through this stuff, but...
So the Max clients is here?
Yeah,
We
the
talked
Max
about that
clients,
before.
good call.
Yep.
So we spoke about the Max clients, the number of clients that can connect to an AP for that Wi-Fi network, and that you can set that from here. That would help you in that exam situation to pick like 40
and then
per.
Probably the other useful thing is isolation.
Yep, the wireless client isolation. So we spoke about that briefly. So from here, that is isolate wireless clients from all hosts on this VLAN. So even if it's a wired device, it's layer 2 isolation. So what we do is we block all packets from all MAC addresses except for the default gateway so that you can still get to the internet. But if you've got a printer or a DNS server on the local VLAN, you would need to add an exception. And you can add a whitelist. So you can add the MAC address and the IP address of devices that you want to continue to communicate with. So what we'll do is have a look at what you can do with a ruckus switch inside of the SmartZone. And so if we take a look here, we've got one switch here in our switch group. If you click on that one for us, Adam, and go down the bottom to the port page, we can do port level configuration on this switch from the GUI. And don't forget, like you would have all of your switches from your school in here. This gives us a quick view. These two ports here are putting out PoE. And if we hover our mouse over it, it'll tell us what VLANs, how much PoE we're putting out, what VLANs we're a member of, all of that great stuff. If you want more information, you can scroll down a bit further. And this is kind of cool. So we've picked up the LLDP neighbor information from the switch we're plugged into here at the school, and we've displayed this in here. Now, if you want, you can actually click the configure button and change the parameters for this port. So if you wanted to turn the PoE off or something like that, you can actually do all of that from within the web UI of the SmartZone. And then that will be pushed down into the switch. So you can manually set your PoE class. So instead of command lining into the switch and setting it, you could just do it from here. Cool, I think we're done with that one. It's all pretty straightforward. The other thing we have is this is individual switch level configuration, but we have group level configuration. So if you go all the way to the top for us, Adam, on the left-hand side, make sure we just pick our switch group on the left. And once the group is selected, it's a bit confusing. Now that we've selected the group, the information down here changes slightly. And what we can do is we can do a configuration from the second thing there. And we could do, so you select the model. So you might have different models of switch in your group, but for 7150, we could go configure. And what we can do is we can go VLAN And we could basically put a list of VLANs that we're using at our site, and that would be deployed to all switches inside of the group. And so that's a pretty good thing to do.
Does it automatically get tagged to each port, or do you still have to go and do that?
So you do that from here. So what you would need to do down here is where you specify the ports. So you go create, and so you'd pick the model, because we've got the 12 port and the 24 port. So you go, okay, for all 24 port switches, we're going to say that these ports are tagged, these ports are untagged within that group. Yep.
Port VLANs done outside of the group configuration, does that override? Because they want to have like a default 10 ports be for security cameras on
Yep.
this VLAN.
And then you want to have something for one switch, which is a bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the most specific always wins, right? So you can override this at an individual switch level. Yep.
Can a switch be a member of more than one group?
No, can only be a member of one group. Yep. It's the same for access points. We also have access point groups, which we didn't really look at, but an access point can only be a member of one group.
And this is where you can also copy config and
Yeah, so the full switch config can be copied as well.
saved and moved around. Yep.
Something else kind of interesting is you can actually command line from here as well. So if you go to the top of the page first, click on the switch, you can go to the More menu, and you can start a CLI session into the switch. And then we're straight in. So it's used our SmartZone authentication. We're authenticated to the SmartZone, so now we can log into the switch.
Can we right click and paste?
I don't think so. I think we've actually just upgraded this in our most recent
Yeah,
software.
you can copy paste.
Oh, you can? Oh,
Can
nice.
you know how with putty you select and then just right click to paste?
Ah, yep.
I don't think, I think we've got a new version actually, which is coming, that I think does allow you to do that.
Cool.
But I mean, shift insert works well. But yeah, you're talking about just right clicking.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, so that's switch management within the SmartZone. Not too bad. The other thing it can do as well is it can automatically build a topology map for you. So using LLDP, we know which ports the access points are plugged into, and we know which switches are plugged into uplinks. And so ours is going to look pretty poor because we've only got one access point plugged into a switch. But if you click on it, like there's our switch, and then these are the access points that are connected to that switch. And it automatically builds this topology diagram using LLDP. It's kind of cool. If we scroll down a bit further, we also have other things like analysis. If you go to the traffic analysis, so we've got things here like what is the busiest switch by traffic. We've also got busiest port, what switch is putting out the most PoE around your site. So you can start to understand like where you're going to run out of PoE and stuff like that from this kind of centralized view.